if I'm allowed to talk about Star Trek. So we'll we'll see what happens. But basically, um, I was having the asparagus, ginger, and onions, and I've been watching the Star Trek episode where called "Best of Both Worlds." It's the end of season 3, and it's where the Borg really want Picard bad. And I've already seen this show before, but I just I like stuff that has nicety to it, where there's a level of craftsmanship in the sets, in the dialogue, the information graphic screens that are on the screen and stuff. I mean, it's all very well done, and this Blu-ray remaster is just phenomenal. Really good. And so I was like, okay, well, this is a two-parter, and this is a lot of asparagus and onion. But I didn't even get through the whole episode, not to mention the two-parter with the asparagus. That was an entire bunch of asparagus, an entire onion, part of another onion, and um, a big piece of ginger. And I ate it all. And I was still hungry. So I came down here. I'm like, oh, I got these leftovers. Might as well kick them up. But, I think it needs to be discussed at this point where we talk about on this podcast here what I felt like after having the watermelon. Okay. So after eating the watermelon, um, I just felt, refreshed, hydrated, no big deal. The next day after having the organic watermelon that I've been growing for 3 months, the next day I had an upswell of energy that I tried. I thought I attributed it to the watermelon. Okay, maybe I needed some nutrients that were in there or something, but I wasn't sure. And then now it's today. You know, I got digging done, made my asparagus meal, making this one, 3D printing done. That's pretty good, and 3D design. So what my point is the the meals we consume are not just filler stuff. They are literally communication with one's body on maybe your goals. Maybe a meal that one eats is almost communication to be like, what do you, as a body, as organs, as cells, as organelles, what do you think of this food and nutrient source? What does the actual body at a cellular level and beyond think of the nutrients that are entering the body? And although the body doesn't respond directly in English like, hello, friend, well, we really like this. No, its communication style is in, was it difficult to wake up? Does one have more physical energy throughout the day? Does the energy feel self-sustaining to the effect that one doesn't have to overdo it on caffeine or other stuff? That's the key. That's kind of what I've been getting at. Um, when I used to walk at the lake a lot, I've had so much work to do at the house, I haven't been able to get to the lake in a while. But um, I felt like the communication from my body after having the watermelon that I grew myself was disproportionate to when I would eat a watermelon before. Because I'm pretty good at eating watermelon. I can eat a whole watermelon in one day by myself. I don't need anyone to help. I usually cut it in half, half, put the rest in the fridge, come back at it later. Usually it's even. So what does the extra energy that the body has, what does that represent? And it really just depends. It's just extra gas in the tank. It's up to the person to determine what they do with the gas in their tank. I personally love the feeling. Absolutely love, 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 double heart, heart, heart. Love the feeling of having energy to do more stuff. It's just because of the number of hobbies and interests that I have. I've noticed when checking on Twitter and other communications social media sites, there's a cycle where people are beginning to pierce the veil on either their living situation or their cost of living situation or their free time that they have, endeavors, whatnot. And there's almost a point where people they're they kind of either, well, a lot of times if they're sharing online, maybe they're expressing some concern, but sometimes you'll have someone that's just hitting a hitting a maximum, and they start like to be like, what's going on, costs of this or whatnot. And I think that's good because it's showing that people are beginning to become more comfortable with sharing their process of how they're learning stuff beyond the ultra mundane. It's so mundane that it's not mundane because they're understanding where their life fits in everything. And once a person realizes the limitations that their life has, right? Maybe there's financial debt of these different limitations. Once a person understands that, they might think, "Oh no, it was better before I thought about it." I didn't want to think about XYZ thing. Well, once they realize that situation that they're in, now you can just set up um, constraints, rules, budgets, whatever it is. And those rules one can create for themselves. I do not want that thing there. There we go. Want to touch that. Rules, limits, constraints create the easily the most fun part of being a person. And that is structure, but better than just an externally imposed structure. One can create structure for their own life. And it sounds like, oh no, I don't want to have any structure, blah, blah. But actually, having structure is the most fun part of being a person. Because what does it do? What does structure do to a person? It creates familiarity. It creates familiarity. There we go. And that, just the familiarity alone, that creates it decreases the amount of concern and trepidation for a person's next move, next endeavor, whatever's happening on their process. So what people are probably realizing when they're having this rather jarring epiphany moment here is they're probably realizing that the structure that they thought they had was it was not supported and reinforced as thoroughly as they thought it was. And that's okay. It's easy to misinterpret one's support systems. Happens all the time. It's a misjudgment. They thought, oh, XYZ thing would always be there. It's definitely not fun. To have a additional support system and then that additional support system is taken away. But if it can be taken away, it should never have been relied upon in the primary budget equation, whatever process person's going through for surviving. Thus, my favorite phrase in Baldur's Gate happens like every other chapter is the phrase, you will learn. Great. So deep. You will learn. We all have to learn. Every single one of us is learning every day. Wow. What the heck? Should have lowered the heat there. This is bubbling faster than normal. Interesting. Glad I checked on these noodles. Okay, now they're splitting apart. Interesting. I thought I was stirring them enough. There we go. Looks like I caught it in time. I almost had a giant. My spaghetti noodles would have been like one giant spaghetti brick, which is not what I want for dinner. No, 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 no. I'd like a more even distribution of the noodle to sauce to cheese ratio. Have I learned anything? Well, to answer that, I would go back a step and almost take a look at hunches. So when somebody's got a hunch or a hypothesis or an assumption or whatever on their mind, it's almost like, this is my hunch, I'm going to go with it, see how it goes. And so one of my hunches over the last few years has been use what one has, especially when someone is feeling like they don't have enough. Whenever someone feels like I don't have enough, double check and verify and inventory everything that you do have. And if there's resources that are shared between people, right? Let's say there's a car that's shared or a bicycle that's shared or a community, I don't know, a community cooking pot or a community ladle. Not everyone has to run out and buy a ladle. Someone already has one and you share it. Not everyone's using it all the time. After identifying all these inventory items, per se, take a step back. What do we have? What do I have? Okay. Now, do a second inventory. Is there anything that is in disrepair? Is there anything that's not clean? Are there any areas that are blocked because they haven't been cleaned? Would access to these other areas potentially yield more things, more stuff? Would any of that stuff have value? Would any of that stuff have value to me? Would any of that stuff have value to somebody else? Or maybe a collective of other people? Another family, perhaps. After that process is complete, we now know what one has. We also know what shared resources are immediately available. Let's go a step further. Are there any resources in the environment that are available? Are there any resources that are in the environment that are able to be shared? That was my assumption. My assumption was that that process could be applied to my own life. And I use that kind of philosophy. What do I have? What's available? My immediate vicinity to everything from knowledge to trying to eat what's in the fridge before running out and getting more stuff, right? And um, it brought me to here where now I like streaming when I'm doing stuff because it's fun. So overall, I'm having more and more fun every subsequent day. Well, that's a good thing. That's great. And I can tell I'm enjoying things more because I'm doom scrolling a whole lot less. Like, I don't know what's going on in the world. All I know is that my watermelon was great. My basil's going to seed, things are going good. And I pop my head out every once in a while, but really, um, I think I was doom scrolling way too much. Energy drain, and like a little energy vampire. Maybe that's what the watermelon was gave me the energy to break free of that. Or this whole process of going out checking on the melons, checking on the basil, all that stuff, caring for something other than just myself, right? Bam. That could have been a little bit of a win there. Oh, you know what? Not having to pay for water. That's easily, I mean, I pay for it because I pay the city for my water, my showers and stuff, but just not having to pay for bottled water. Unbelievable. I had no idea how much of what would you say? It was like a tiny damage over time, tiny dot. Every time I would have a bottled water. A bottled water. Weird. Can't believe this is done already. This is great. Okay. Here we go. Zoom, I'm having trouble zooming out. There we go. I like putting a little bit of the water in the bottom. And it hydrates it. You know, I just realized I'm kind of like running low on cheese here. Okay. Go. Cool. Let's accent this. This will be more Parmesan-y. Eh, you know what? Let's do some of this nice cheese too. Is that pronounced? Asiago? 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 Asagio? Asagio. Asagio. Asagio? I don't know. I know there's a G in there, right? Asagio. I don't know. Give some sauce. Wow, Captain Picard is going to be happy. I don't believe it. I'm going to be able to see the best of both worlds tonight. Right. Remember, this is just leftover sauce. I'm not like worried about it being super good or anything. There we go. Oh, that I put a little bit. Okay. You know what? What's the rule? What's the rule when you don't have enough sauce? What's the rule when you don't have enough sauce? Anybody? Bueller? Huh? The rule when you don't have enough sauce is you never make pasta unless you have some spare butter. So you just put some butter on top. That was so easy, right? Wow. Wow. If you don't have spare butter and pepper, right? You really should be making pasta because there could be a problem there, everybody. Look at that. That is something special. Then, little thing of butter on top. Little thing of butter on top. The hot sauce. Stir it with the hot sauce later after you got a spoon. Okay, so I had the asparagus that was like one dinner. Then I'll have this pasta. That'll be my second dinner. I'll have that as my third dinner. Then I'll be in good shape. All I had yesterday to eat was like a carrot and some chili. So popcorn. And popcorn doesn't count. That's like nothing. Okay. Wow. I know I've been talking a lot more these last couple uh, live streams, and that's not going to be the normal thing. It's just that I don't know. Felt like felt like sharing some ideas. So there we go. No problem. This fork seems very small. I'm gonna do this one because it's kind of saucier. Or should I do this one second? So, this one's soggy. This one's less soggy. I'll do that one first. There we go. We win. Thank you for watching. Enjoy. Wish me luck on making sure we get through this Borg stuff. We'll see how we do.